Hey, this is Bruce Boudreau, and you're listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mack, and Harrison.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 202 of Empty Betters. I am your host, Harrison Scholes. I am now going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Mr. Nick Manella. What's going on, my friend?
Not too much, man. We had some gorgeous weather here today in Maryland. I feel like we haven't done a lot of the weather talk lately, so I'm going to be bringing that back for 202 here. It was like up to like 60 and sunny. It was great to be outside for a little bit, so loving life right now.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Good timing. Just got back from Wisconsin yesterday. Was hanging out with Mac over the weekend, and certainly got all four seasons in just 4 days. But I'm sure Mac could talk a little more about that than I can. Gonna toss it off to Mac up in Milwaukee. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, y'all? Yeah, well, it was weird. It was a weird, and I think you got in on Thursday, right, and left on Sunday, and you're absolutely right because I think Thursday, even Friday morning, that span it was like 50, 60 degrees almost, and sunny and nice, and then just snow and like 10 degrees by like Friday night, and then today you're gone, but it's 55 again. So
Yeah, that's just how it works. I remember we got in and I was hitting the golf ball, playing fetch with the dog at the house. And then the next day we were eating breakfast. Sun's coming through the deck window, and I'm piping hot. I'm like, holy shit! Like it might be 65 outside. And then they're like, oh no, they're calling for snow. I was like, there's absolutely no way. And sure as shit, looked like a blizzard by 5 p.m. And that was my intro to the Midwest, the North Midwest rather. So. Good weekend over in Milwaukee. Mac, I know you took me to my first Admirals game, had an absolute blast, and turns out that they need us to be there in order to keep the win streak alive.
yeah, I mean, I've been to at least a dozen Admirals games in my life, and I've been to two or three Admirals playoff games as well, and that might have been the best one I've been to. Easily top five for me. I think part of it was the win streak. Another part of it was a big weekend in Milwaukee. There were some other events going on nearby, so had some extra tourism and foot traffic going on. Might have attracted a couple people to the game, but seriously, I haven't seen the place that jumping in a while. It was a Saturday night, but I mean, I even went to a couple playoff games last year that were less attended than the game that we were at, and you could feel it. I think you would agree. The place was kind of going crazy for all the goals and the chanting. It's all your fault and everything. It
Yeah, it
was
was fun.
fans were dialed in.
Yeah, I think I haven't been to a Hershey Bears game in a long time, but that was the first AHL game I've been to in probably 10 plus years. And it's just cool to see, right? Like the people who go, especially Milwaukee, because that's like their team, they care. It kind of gives you the same feel as Hershey in that regard. And you see a bunch of different jerseys and, it just kind of gives you that old school, like cheap, not cheap as in like bad, but like affordable feel. And it's like the common man going to the game. They're not price gouging you.
Yeah, like your Friday night tickets. Here's your
Yeah.
$4 beer and a giant plastic cup. You're probably going to have about seven of them and just, scream at the puck when it doesn't do what you want it to do.
Yeah. So it was a good time. There were two other things I wanted to mention about that. So, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong. We saw the Admirals win their 19th game in a row. And then the day after, they lost their 20. They were going for 20 and they lost.
Yep, that's right.
And it looks like the Predators have some good depth in their organization. That was a fun game. I know the goalie Asher, what's his name? Asherov.
Askarov.
Askarov. Yeah.
So I didn't know who this guy was until we started talking about that bench press McFarland figure that's going to come out, and now all of a sudden you're hearing Soros in the trade chatter because they've got that kid, and it's like, oh, here you go.
No,
So
that kid's a stud.
cool to see, really cool to see, and I want to give a shout out. I don't know this woman's name, but it was the best decision I made of the entire trip. Me and Mac were hungry, and we were in line at the second intermission, and Ian's Pizza is, the pizza, I guess, establishment that
Local chain
supplies.
out here, but it's a big deal in Milwaukee.
Yeah, they supply the pizza at the arena, and this woman next to me, you know, she could take some pizza, let's put it that way. And she looked at me and she goes, "Get the mac and cheese slice." And I was like, "A mac and cheese slice of pizza? You're crazy. Like, why would I do that to myself? I already poop on planes as it is. Like, I'm not trying to
Dude, that's
come.
a lot of cheese. That might stuff you up
Yeah,
for the
that'll
flight
stop you
ride
up. Yeah,
home. Yeah.
Well,
perfect.
that's
There you
true. I
go.
didn't think of it that way. I guess the Zins were talking at that point. But I ended up trying it, and holy shit, that was one of the best slices of pizza I've ever had. So I want to give a congratulations to Ian's Pizza. The macaroni slice is banging. Definitely worth it.
Good stuff.
Absolutely. And hung out at Elwood's. That was always fun too. But
Also, shout out Cal O'Reilly became we got to see him become the Admirals franchise leader all time in points. So that was pretty cool. I think he's got 200 something points with the Admirals over the last however many years that is. But
yeah,
yeah, very cool to see.
Yeah, you guys got to see Hodgson play too, right?
Yep, he scored the. I think he scored the first goal. He scored one of the goals
he
we were there
did.
for.
And
Great story.
another blast from the past. There was a guy on the Chicago Wolves who was noticeably fast, like significantly faster than other players on the ice. I was looking at Mac, I was like, who the fuck is I think it was like his number was 43 or whatever.
Yeah, and we looked up at the roster and we're like, oh no shit, it's Corey Conacher, old
Supposed to be
blast from the
double
past.
nickels, 55. Come on.
Oh,
Right?
was that
Wasn't
what
he
he rocked? I
55?
think that sounds right. Yeah,
I can't remember what number he was. I know he played for the Sens and the Lightning. That's all I really
I think
remember
that's
from
right.
him.
Yeah.
But man, he was flying out there.
He's
Looked
also
good.
apparently not even having that great of a year, but for whatever
Yeah.
reason, he was dialed in that night.
Yeah,
So
seriously. So yeah, it was a fun time. Thanks, Mac, for taking me around, hosting me. If I was an idiot, I apologize.
no, it
And
was
I
good.
want to,
Good times.
before we get to the real stuff, just a PSA. I finally broke the streak. I did not poop on the plane this time. So
Nice, dude.
Both
we
ways.
both ways made it without a
Wow.
poop. It was
Nice.
impressive. Granted, 90 minutes, but
Yeah.
a win's a
I
win.
mean,
Yeah,
still,
baby
that's
steps.
over an hour. I mean, credit where it's due, man.
I'm starting to have a bad association of
Credit
flying
where it's
home
due,
with
dude.
hangovers, and I need to break that streak. So
Yeah.
yeah. All
That's
righty.
why I did literally, it's like I do not fly hungover. I will refuse to do it.
Yeah, it's tough.
I think I'm going to join you on that movement.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to move on to the question of the day. I know Mac will have that for you guys in a second, but before he gets to that, I know Nick has a word from our sponsor, Kane Footwear.
Well, I know you boys needed some recovery after your weekend, and basically, I would assume putting the Elwood's liquor sales into the red from what it looks like. But I'm also going to need some recovery this week. I'm doing another move to Ocean City, so it's going to be a long week. It's going to be a rough trip, but I'm going to have my Kane footwear there with me. My knees will be fine. My back will be fine. It's the best shoe you can get right now. I use mine all the time. I've been getting back into hockey with shooting a lot. Gonna get back on the ice here soon. I'm gonna have my Kane footwear in the locker room with me. Most comfortable shoe you will ever own. Hit the link in our bio today. Check out those new monochrome colorways. They are spicy.
Ooh, I like that. I'll have to check those out. I don't know if I saw that post yet. Mac, QOTD.
Yeah, okay. So we've probably like discussed something similar to this just in passing on the show before, but let's get it on paper. I want to know if you could go see a playoff NHL game at any arena in the league, what would it be?
Bell Center. That's a basic answer, but like Bell
No
Center.
duplicate answers, but that's a good one. Yes. Playoff game at any arena. Here's an oddball one. I'll throw this out there. It's been fun in the past, and I think kind of a hot topic actually right now. But I'll throw Winnipeg in there. That whiteout
That's a good one
historically
too.
has been a good one.
I like that. I was thinking about saying Montreal, but since you said it, I actually think I'm going to go Detroit, the Joe.
It's a good
I
one.
mean, that
Well,
would
it's
just
the pizza
be
box
well, the
now.
pizza box now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm still calling it the Joe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've also heard that arena itself is just like a super nice new facility, but just for fan engagement and just everybody being dialed in, I feel like that place is going to be rocking in a month or two, assuming they hold on to their spot.
Bias aside, I'll throw one more in, and this is going to be unpopular amongst you guys, but they've had some good playoff runs recently, and it's always popping. I'm gonna throw the Islanders barn in there.
All right,
I thought you were
fair
gonna say
enough.
MSG.
I thought you were going to say
No.
I thought you were going to say Toronto.
No. Toronto would be good, but again, and if Bowens were here, maybe he'd agree with this. Like, it's just they price gouge all the real
Yeah.
fans out.
It's
Yep.
the same problem the Caps have. It's all corporate right now.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I know. I throw the Islanders in there. I think that'd be a good one.
I feel like, I mean, any of the Canadian teams, you really can't get a bad atmosphere. I was thinking the Flames, just because that would be cool. The
Yeah.
Oilers would probably be just as
Vancouver
good.
too, I'm sure.
Yeah,
As
those.
we know, they don't mess around.
Yeah, just hope they win that playoff game. Let's
Yeah,
put it that
right,
way.
right. Yeah, good point.
I just go to the Bell Center because like you've seen like the opening thing they do in the playoffs where like the kid lights like takes the torch to the ice and then like the whole ice like catches fire and then
Yep.
I mean just can you beat like the O Canada French anthem at the Bell Center? I don't
Yeah,
think you
that would be
can.
pretty crazy.
Yeah. Nah, I'm with you on that. Any American teams pop out to you, Nick, or
Besides Detroit.
Detroit would be a good one. I feel like St. Louis would be a really fun town for like a deep playoff run if I was going to catch a couple games there.
I like that?
Yeah, and affordable enough too,
Yeah, good food too.
Yeah, I like that. That's a
Mm-hmm.
good answer.
What about you guys?
Minnesota, probably another good American
That's
one.
a good one.
Trying to think if there's any others. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna conclude it with my Isles is my American one, but Winnipeg
Okay.
would be my top.
Nice. Good talk.
So
Good talk.
fuck the Flyers, fuck the Rangers, fuck the Devil.
And notice nobody said Vegas.
Not the Bruins.
You know
I
who
want to
would
see
be
all that
good?
tomfoolery before the game.
You know who would be good? It's been so long, so I guess I didn't think of it. But man, when they were in the playoffs and good, when Sid and Ovi were young, the Sabres would be a fun one.
Yeah.
True. Like in the Danny Briere, Ryan Miller era, that
Yeah,
probably was crazy.
that would be electric.
I
Buffalo,
saw a playoff hockey game at TD Garden though at Boston. That was awesome. Caps won 1-0 in overtime. I think Backstrom.
Yep. Double
Oh, wow.
overtime, right?
Game 2, game 1, something like that.
I think it was 2.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of scoring big overtime goals, that segues perfectly into our news portion of the episode. And last night, Sunday night, February 25th, Patrick Kane returns to Chicago as his first time on the visitor team, scores 2 points, gets an assist on the game tying goal by none other than Alex DeBrincat, and then seals the deal with the OT winner on a breakaway. Sick top shelf snipe, unreal Selly, screaming his own nickname to the crowd, giving him the fingers on the stick. I love that Selly. It's his second OT winner in the last 3 games. He's on an 8-game point streak. He's a point per game player this season. I can't say enough about Patrick Kane and what last night meant to hockey. That was just one of the coolest games you'll ever see.
Not just hockey, but US hockey specifically. Like they had Chelios having his jersey retired. You have Patrick Kane, who Chris Chelios has already said is the greatest American hockey player to ever play this game. Same night. It's the Red Wings, it's the Blackhawks. It was fantastic. I mean, it was just so cool to watch.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Chelios's one request before the game in his speech was Kaner, don't steal my thunder. And sure as shit, the entire night, as you noticed, by the way, I just segued that. Didn't even get to mention Chris Chelios getting number 7 retired, but Patrick Kane icing the game in overtime. I just like you think about sports and like, nowadays especially, and I'm kind of giving Elliot Friedman some props on this phrase here, but if there were ever to be a script that was leaked, that was the ultimate script game because you couldn't have ended it any better than the way it ended. It's too good to be true almost.
Yep, there were people commenting, being like, "Damn, the script went crazy for this one."
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
so happy that Patrick Kane is on the Red Wings. Like, had he gone anywhere else, I feel like it wouldn't be this much fun right now. But I think I stamped them with the fun team label at the beginning of the season. I think we all were kind of like pulling for this team to somehow sneak into the playoffs. They're exciting to watch. So, I hope they stay right where they're at.
Yeah, and we always talk about how hockey is better when the Wings are good. It's just true.
Yeah.
Well, they're hot right now. They've won 5 straight games. They've won 7 of their last 10. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? Like this type of game and the streak that they're on, they're hot at the right time. We're getting into March. How dangerous is this team? I mean, just to kind of give you guys the scenario. I don't know if you saw, but former guest of the show, Mr. Rear Admiral himself, said they are not really a threat to anybody in the first round. I'm not so sure I'd side with that one.
Yeah, I
Li-
totally disagree with that, mainly just because it's like if you get into the first round, you're a threat.
True.
Anyone can beat anyone in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We saw the LA Kings win 2 Stanley Cups by literally doing that. So that's, anyone can do anything in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
That being said, I
Right.
do have concern between the pipes mostly. I think
Yeah.
that's a team that I don't know. I don't know if they're looking to add a goalie because I think there's a lot of other teams that are hurting worse for a goalie, like New Jersey and Edmonton are probably thinking they absolutely need a goalie, whereas Detroit, they might be kind of convincing themselves they don't. I would, if I were them, I would feel a lot better with any of the goalies that have been rumored on the market right now. Now, what are you going to have to give up to get him? Obviously, that's another question. But that, if you ask me what I'm concerned about with the Wings, it's goaltending for sure.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that in the fact that basically what this team does at the deadline is probably going to determine what happens to them this year. I think in the grand scheme of things, they're probably still a year or two away from being a legitimate contender in the East. We'll see if they decide to, Mac, like you said, we don't know what that price is going to be for a goaltender. We'll see if they decide to make a move like that, maybe to a team who's not going to make the postseason this year. I don't know what that price would look like, but it's going to be interesting to see if they actually put a deal in place at the deadline.
Yeah, Lyon's been good for them this year. He's on my fantasy team. He's been great for me, honestly. But he did the same thing in Florida last season a little bit, right? He comes in and he stabilizes things when you might not think that he will. He did it last year. He's doing it this year. He's played great for them. I would agree. I don't know how that's going to look in the postseason, and if he ends up getting rattled, you might want to have a insurance marker there. I know, you look at the goalies on the market. Markstrom's obviously one of the big names. Um, I know the Penguins are maybe rumored to be trading Nedeljkovic or Jari. We'll see what happens with that. So there's definitely some names available for the Wings, whether they go after it or not. Not sure, but I would imagine they're going to be aggressive. I think they have a good chance at making the second round, to be honest with you.
Soros also available out of
Yep.
Nashville.
Yep.
I mean, Elvis, an option in Columbus.
Honestly, Elvis or Saros, they get that and that goaltender can start playing well in front of them before the playoffs. And I would start sweating if I was some teams in the
Yeah.
East.
Yeah.
Because they're also coming into this postseason in theory with nothing to lose.
True.
This
Yeah,
is
it's
very
a
accurate.
big. I mean, I've said this about the Caps before, and you see the Wings are a great example of this too. That's why I'll bring it up real quick. But you see people on like Caps Twitter specifically being like, "Oh, why are we even going to try to sneak into the playoffs? Because if we get in, we're not going to go anywhere." To me, it's not about that. It's about you want if you're the Caps, you want guys like McMichael and Protus and even Strom to get those playoff reps in now, so that next year they want to come back and they're not shell shocked and they're hungrier for it. I think the Wings are in that exact same spot where it's like doesn't matter what happens once you get in, just get in, and then as Nick said, anything can happen. But even more than that, it's just getting reps, getting guys in those playoff games as early as possible in their career.
Yeah, get Cider involved in what it's like to play top D minutes in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And Mac, to build on your point, I think it also sets them up. It's like, hey, this team got into the playoffs. Now all these free agents are going, shit, do I want to go play for the Red Wings now? I think I
Yep,
do.
absolutely. It just cements them as like a serious hockey team again, and
Yep.
people can start to consider them that.
Yeah, I don't know any major Swedish hockey playing name that would love to go
Oh
to
my God.
the Red Wings. They love their Swedes. He's got some teammates over there, Lucas Raymond too. I don't know, from Team Sweden back in the day, but we'll get into that in a little bit. By the way, just a little side note: if the playoffs ended today, the Red Wings would be playing the Boston Bruins in the first round. That would be
Kind of fun.
that would be a
That'd
lot
be
of fun.
interesting.
I just need at some point, give me a Tampa Bay Lightning Detroit Red Wings playoff series so I can watch Detroit sweep Tampa in 4 games.
That would be pretty cool.
I would enjoy that little Iserman plot there too. So
Oh yeah.
that'd be fun. Uh, kind of keeping on the theme of American hockey, Mr. Austin Matthews maybe when it's all said and done, he might be the greatest American ever. We'll see. But he scored his 50th and 51st goal of the season in Arizona. I think it was last Friday. Looked like a home game for the Leafs, to be honest, at Mullet. That was crazy how many Leafs fans were there. I don't know if that's actual snowbirds or what.
The same thing happened when the Oilers played there, like
Yep.
a couple games before that. Just seems like, it could be, Arizona is kind of one of those states, especially these days. It's becoming like a trendier and trendier place to move to. So it seems to me that there's a lot of people that live there that are not from Arizona, that just are from all over the place. And, your
Yeah,
team
I mean, like no
playing there,
state
you're going to go.
income tax. I would move there.
Right.
Good weather,
Yeah,
waste
minus like
management.
the summer, but yeah.
Yeah, seriously. But he's up to 52 on the year now. Leafs upcoming schedule, just for those interested, because obviously every media outlet's going to be on the 70 goal watch now, including ourselves. They got Vegas, Arizona, New York Rangers, Boston Bruins, and Buffalo Sabres as their next 5 games. All 5 of those games will be at home, by the way. Thought that's worth mentioning. Current pace is 76 goals.
Dude, half of those games could be road games and still be home games for the Leafs. The Coyotes one and the Sabres one are just home games for Toronto at that point.
Yeah, so I don't know. Big 5 game homestand for the boys in blue up north, but I know Matthews is going to be getting all the media attention here, and the MVP chatter is definitely heating up. So we'll see how it all shakes out.
I always
Uh,
forget that Matthew Nyes is from Phoenix.
yes, I think that
So
was overshadowed in that game last week
I think we're starting to see like the Matthews effect already, which is just crazy to say.
for sure. The Rangers, their 10-game win streak came to an end out of all teams against the Columbus Blue Jackets on Sunday evening in a 4-2 loss. The Rangers tied the franchise record for win streak at 10 games. Pretty impressive. Merzlikins was very good in that game with 38 stops. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Rangers and maybe one player who's snagging headlines left and right a little later in the episode, but just wanted to give you guys the lowdown that the Rangers did win 10 in a row and tied the franchise record.
That team's good. I hate saying it. I've had to say it like the last 3 or 4 weeks, but that team is very, very good.
They're loaded. And, it's interesting because I think I saw the other day, like Mika Zibanejad, don't quote me on this, but I thought I saw on Twitter, he doesn't have an even strength goal since like January, which is pretty nuts because, he's one of the obviously their best goal scorers, and you would think that he needs to be clicking for them to be winning 10 in a row. But it seems like he's been struggling on even strength. Again, I'm going off memory.
He's so versatile on the power play, though. Like he could be your
Yeah.
setup guy, he could be your finisher with that one timer he's got. It's just he's so
Blast.
hard to defend.
Yeah. Yeah. And the hair, the DJ life, it's always a nice little added feature, little side feature there.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Nikita Kucherov hit the century mark. He guys officially cracked the 100-point marker. He's up to 102 on the season after a 4-point performance against the Devils on Sunday. I know Mac has a lot of things to say about the Devils. Later in the episode, he was texting us over the weekend about this, but a huge win for the Bolts, a huge game for Nikita. I mean, you talk about MVPs. If it's not Matthews, it might be this guy. Could be McKinnon. Could be McDavid at this point, honestly. I don't know. We'll see.
It's just crazy that this guy is like quietly having a career year and no one's talking about it.
No one's talking
I
about it.
know we've
It's
said that
weird.
like 3 or 4 times, but like even like you turn on like ESPN and they'll talk about like Matthews or McDavid. It's like where in the like Kucherov's over 100 points. We're before the trade deadline. Where in the hell is his credit? I mean, I'm not a Bolts lover, but
Yeah.
seriously,
Well, and it also just kind of gets to the point where it's like this guy has had just a great career that it's like it's just kind of to be expected at this point. Like,
he could
Yeah.
retire tomorrow and be first ballot Hall of Famer,
yeah,
in my
pretty
opinion.
Oh,
much.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The TNT guys, after that broadcast, were kind of pumping his tires, saying exactly what we're saying, how nobody really talks about him. And him and Braden Point are just unbelievable. And it seems like nobody in the NHL really talks about him. I guess the Lightning have won a few cups in recent memory. So people feel like they've already been talked about enough. I'm not sure, but yeah, they look good right now. So we'll see.
Maybe we'll have to do a YouTube series where we bitch and argue over, dynamic duos. We can do Kucherov and Point and then go down the list.
I would love that. I think that'd be a good engagement for our audience. Valeri Nichushkin has cleared the Players Assistance Program after entering it in January. The 28-year-old Russian-born winger had 22 goals and 42 points through 40 games this year before entering the program. That is a huge addition back into the Avalanche lineup.
Yeah, people forget he was absolutely tearing it up. And I want to say out of those 22 goals, I think like at least like 15 of them were on the power play. Like he was just going to town on that power play. So that's massive for them and at a good time. I think he still has to kind of go through. There's like a post.
Yeah, he has to be like cleared to play, right? Right now he's just cleared to practice.
Yeah, there's like a final stage of the players assistance program, the way I understand it. And so he's kind of in that now, but he's allowed to kind of resume skating with them. And then I don't know how long it'll take, maybe another week or something, but
yeah,
would expect to see him back in games sometime pretty soon.
It's like in Animal House, it's double secret probation. And once they do the parade and Dean Wormer approves it, they'll be fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow. That's I don't know how we just went from the player assistance program to Animal House, but you did it. So there it is. It was good though. All right. Mark Stone will be out for the foreseeable future with a lacerated spleen. If you are one of those people who is now questioning the integrity, I mean, granted, Stone is hurt. I'm not going to dismiss that. But if you're questioning the integrity of the LTIR loophole that we all know so well, you are not alone. That is the first thing the internet said. Not saying that's right, obviously. Hope Stone's okay. That sounds pretty nasty, but that is where people are starting to put their heads, especially with Eichel still out. I know he's probably 1 to 2 weeks away based on what I've heard, but
yeah, I think we're probably like a year or two away from seeing something in writing that prevents, falsified claims of this happening. That being said, I've had spleen issues in the past. Oh my God, it is the worst.
Yeah, this is kind of scary. I mean, Mark Stone, man, what a player, but
Yeah.
holy shit, he's dealt with, it seems like, every different kind of injury in his career at this point.
Like the doctors have to be saying like, dude, stop, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Like when I saw this, the thought crossed my mind, like, fuck, he might need to be done.
Because that's what we were saying about the back thing. Like he might be done,
but he's only 31. Like that, like people forget. In my head, I feel like he's way older than that because I feel like he's been around a long time. But yeah, man, I don't know how much more. I would echo exactly what you said. Doctors have to be like, come on, dude.
and this is still fun for you. Like,
right. Which I'm sure they're saying to TJ Oshie and plenty of other guys in the NHL too. But you get the bug, you don't want to stop. So I get it.
Yeah, for sure. The Canucks. Oof. This one's going to stir the pot a little bit. It appears that they've been working on trying to get an extension finalized with their superstar Elias Pettersson. It is rumored that they've offered him anywhere from a 8-year, 11 to 12 million AAV. Obviously, he hasn't signed that yet, which is why we're bringing this up. There is a growing sense of frustration, it is reported, within the Canucks organization that there is no deal in place, and we're quickly approaching the trade deadline. He's a pending UFA. The Canucks are one of the best teams in the NHL. They're probably going to be the 1 seed in the West, and now you got all this drama around arguably their best player. I mean, what do you guys think is going to shake out here?
Bottom line, you cannot trade this player when you're first place in the NHL. Let's just get that done with right away. That being said, do you guys think this is him trying to leverage like a bigger contract by saying he doesn't really have interest in sticking around to see if they'll sweeten the pot a little bit? Or do you think he's like, no, like I did my time here, get me the fuck out?
Listen, I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but a couple of things I can tell you. One, I can tell you there's like a 99% chance that he's not getting traded. There's also in my head almost as strong of a chance that he doesn't just walk at the end of the year. So I don't think the Canucks need to panic and try and like trade him so they get something. Like if that's what the fans are like worried about, I really don't see a scenario where he doesn't sign anything and then he just walks away and you get absolutely nothing. I would be shocked if that happens. What I do think will happen is one of two things. I think they'll either just figure it out and it'll be no big deal. And it's like you said, maybe he was just trying to use leverage and then he ends up signing some huge, massive long term deal with them anyway.
Right.
Or I also think there's a possibility where he doesn't sign anything. They keep him around. They get closer to this offseason, or maybe it's that he wants to see how this season shakes out and how the playoffs shake out. And then I think there's a strong possibility because all he said, he didn't say, I want out of Vancouver. I think the term that I saw was there's rumor that he does not want to be in Vancouver long term.
Right.
So if that's the case, I could totally see a scenario where they're like, look, dude, sign a 1 or 2 year bridge deal with us. Stay here for now, at least. You know, you're already here. Might as well do another year or two, especially if they go to the playoffs and things go well. There might be some incentive for him to kind of stick it out and try to win with that group. And then, you know, maybe we're talking about this next year and there's 1 year left and he gets traded or something like that. But
yeah, I think you make a great point. Like long term, I don't know what you guys have in your head. Maybe it's just, you know, recency bias from what we've seen with all the NHL extensions in the last 5 to 10 years for me. Long term is 8 years. And it's like, if you don't want to be in Vancouver for 8 years, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And I think you make a great point. He could also just be saying, I don't want to sign this extension now. I want to wait till the offseason and see what we do here. Now, my question to you is going to be, you said there's no way they trade this guy, right? Or there's no way this guy just like walks, right? What if these guys get like bounced in the first round? And I mean like bounced like five games, 4 games, like
Which, by the way, is not totally incomprehensible considering they're a young team. They might not have a lot of experience in the playoffs. They're probably overachieving a little bit. Not saying they're not a good team, but it's just like, ooh, I don't know.
Well, I mean, just look at what we've seen in the past. Look at what Florida did to Boston last year. Look at what Columbus did to Tampa. You just never know.
If they draw the LA Kings, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They definitely could.
Yes, they most certainly could. What happens beyond here? I have no clue. I'm going to be honest.
It's a fascinating situation, that's for sure.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't Matthews after I can't remember when it was, but before he signed this mega deal, he was on like a 5-year
was drama.
deal.
Yeah, there was some drama.
But that's just because it was a Leaf player whose contract was about to expire.
Right. I mean, I guess like to me, like anything after 5 years is I consider longer term, 5 years and under.
Right.
It's medium short. I read one comment on Twitter about the guy who sent out this main tweet. His name is Taj. That's literally his name, and it went viral. Like everyone retweets this guy Taj because he cites his source, which I think is funny. There was one comment that was talking about, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this. Have you heard about the Tavares tax bonus situation with the Canadian government?
Yeah.
So basically, Canada's trying to tell Tavares that he owes like $8 million in taxes from his bonus.
Which is just the biggest load of crap I've ever seen in my life.
And now he has to, I don't want to say he's suing him because I don't know for a fact, but the article I'm reading says he's fighting them. I don't know what legal action that entails.
I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah, I think so.
I'm
not well versed on Canadian government other than who runs their country, but that's about it.
I read one comment that was like, maybe there's a part of Patterson that sees what Tavares is going through and Vancouver's trying to give him some giant upfront bonus, and that's what he's reluctant about. I have no idea. I'm just saying what one comment said. And I said this earlier in the show, but if you're Elias Patterson, you probably maybe want to go somewhere where there's a lot of Swedes. I mean, just throwing that out there. Detroit historically has always been good to the Swedes. I know that Daniel Alfredsson is now back with the Ottawa Senators, and that stirred up the Erik Karlsson return to Ottawa rumors. I'm a big rumor boy here, but like I'm just saying.
But I mean, this is what happens around this point. As we get close to the deadline, all this stuff starts circulating, and you don't know what is legit and what's just speculation. So I think anything is fair game here.
I have no idea what's going to happen, but I have a feeling if they don't have an extension by the deadline, I'm going to go out on a limb and say bridge deal or he goes somewhere else, but I don't see a long-term deal happening.
I mean, that would be a huge move. That is like an A1 superstar getting moved.
Yeah. I mean, that would be awful for the Canucks, but
from a good team too. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you work for the city of Vancouver, my inclination to you would to just maybe get out in front of this one. Like maybe we don't have buses running that day or something. Just
Learn from the city of Philadelphia and grease your lamp poles so
yes.
people can't do that.
Maybe stop the sale of your substances at some point that day. I don't know.
Regardless, and we digress. Moving on to another Western Canadian team to round out the news segment. Just a reminder, the Flames will be retiring Mika Kiprasov's number 34 on Saturday night against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Book it. The Flames will win. I have no doubt. I'm not jinxing my team. I have a horrible feeling about this Western Canada swing. We're going to get our asses handed to us. We lose on Jersey retirement nights, as we all know. Hammer the Flames. Don't know what the odds will be, but they'll
Totally
probably be
agree.
decent. They'll be
Totally
decent
agree.
value. They'll probably be like odds maker Harry. They're home against the Pens. I'm going to say it's probably like a minus 120 Flames that night.
Okay. And that's fair for the Flames. I mean, boys, were we blessed to just grow up in like the best era of goaltending ever? I mean,
Yeah.
we could just rattle off the names for all the attendees we got to watch growing up. This guy was definitely at the top of the list for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely one of my favorite attendees to watch growing up. Incredible mask. He would lose his cool every now and then. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember the time he literally like two-handed someone with a goalie stick, but just absolutely fantastic.
He had some
player.
nice kits too. So like you said, the
Oh,
helmets,
yeah.
but some sweet pad setups and everything. Love it.
Yeah.
So congrats to Mika in advance. Seems like a lot of jersey retirements this part of the season. Yager, Chelios, now we got Mika Kiprasov. So it's been fun. Good storylines. We're going to move on to the discussion portion of the episode. And the one man who is taking the NHL by storm, Mr. Matt Rempe. Been a lot of headlines about him. He's made it in USA Today. He's in NBC News the other day. So it's just kind of crazy what this 19-year-old is doing. But in 5 career games, he has 3 fighting majors and a game misconduct. Before I go recapping his 5 games here, what are your guys' overall thoughts on what's going on with Matt Rempe, and what do you think is good and bad about this, if any?
I love it. I love everything about this. I love the fact that not only are we getting, seems like fighting's up this year, but it also seems like good fights are up this year. You know, we don't see guys getting hit when they're on the ground. We're seeing these great bouts. I mean, the bout he had with Delorier the other night was literally an
That's
ad for
sick.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots where the two are just teeing off on each other for a minute. I think it's really cool to see the reception the guy's got coming into the league. I mean, you talk about his, we talked about the first game as the outdoor game and, Matt Martin coming up to him and congratulating him, asking him if he wanted it, then going with him and then congratulating him more in the box. And it seems like a couple other like big guys, heavyweights have come up and said like, hey, do you want it? Like leaving it in his court. And, he's a young guy. He says, yeah, I want it. Seems like a really, really down to earth kind of guy too. So I love to see it. This is part of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, like you said, that Delorier fight of the year, maybe fight of the last like 5 years, honestly.
Easily.
So the only thing though that I will add, otherwise I echo everything else you said. The only thing I'll add is in the most recent one, the Blue Jackets one, Olivier kind of tuned him up. He left and he looked like he maybe was a little concussed or something like that because he was kind of wobbling around. What I think I want more clarification on it, and we're not going to get it at this point, but like, it is these guys, it seems like going up to him in warmups and kind of saying, like you said, do you want it? And like, I'm sure he's excited about that and like does want it, but also at a certain point, like, I wonder how the Rangers feel about it and how Laviolette feels about it and how, cause like, it's one thing to like go out there and like rally your team up. And like, for the most part, that's what he's doing. But I do think there's such thing as overkill, and 5 games, like 3 fights or whatever it is. Like, I do wonder if by that 5th game, when he dropped him with Olivier, there weren't maybe some players on the bench, like rolling their eyes, like, okay, buddy, we get it. Like, you're doing a little too much. I'm not saying maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's worth thinking about. And for Rempe's sake, I mean, I don't want him to feel like he has to do this every game too. Like he also
Yeah.
scored a goal, has an assist. Seems like he's got some offensive upside. He could at least plan his 6'8" build in front of the net and screen pretty good. We saw that. So yeah, just kind of food for thought there.
You are definitely not the only person who's asked that question. And again, to quote 32 Thoughts here for Elliot Friedman, I mean, he was saying, and I kind of agree with it, you got to think Laviolette and Chris Drury are chirping in his ear if they're thinking this is overkill. And as a 19-year-old rookie, I would think that
21.
I'm sorry, 21. As a 21-year-old rookie, I would think that he would listen to them, right? I mean, like they're legends of the game. Why wouldn't you? And you've clearly cracked a spot in the lineup, so what you don't might not have to prove yourself as much.
Well, thank God he's 21 because the guy has absolutely earned a damn six pack. I'll say that much. I think, when grade A heavyweights are coming up to you and saying, "Do you want it?" The Matt Martin one in his first game, totally give him a pass for that. It's your first game, it's an outdoor game. I thought that was handled great. When Delorier comes up to you and says, "Do you want it?" and you say yes, I just respect you for saying yes and
Big
not shitting your
time.
pants.
Yeah.
I think maybe we'll see this calm down in the next couple of weeks. It's not like every single team has one of those old school like A-list heavyweights still hanging around. So I think it'll simmer down a little
Well,
bit.
and naturally, like I was trying to think about it from like obviously I'm not a professional athlete and my body is nowhere near in the shape that a professional athlete's would be, but like if you're getting punched in the face every day, like you can't like that's not sustainable. So like he's like it has to slow down. It's going to because like obviously it's not every day, but like I don't know, those 5 games probably happen across like 12 days or something like that. Like
Right.
that's a lot of getting punched in the face.
It's a lot of face damage.
Yeah.
Well, here's the fun part for those of you listening and wondering what you're going to see over the next week for the New York Rangers. They play the Blue Jackets again on Wednesday night, so we'll see if he tries to get retribution with
Okay,
Olivier.
so forget everything I just said.
And then this is the one where everybody wants to see what happens Saturday night against Ryan Reeves in Toronto. I have to let's
All
take
right.
bets. Let's
All
take
right.
bets.
No, this is good though, because now he's got to put his money where his mouth is. Because Ryan Reeves undefeated in hypothetical situations this season, so now he's got to actually do it.
I mean,
Jesus Christ.
Reeves is playing if Rempe's playing. You know he is. So what's going to happen? Are they going to
That might be
fight?
the only reason.
Yeah, I was gonna
Ryan
say
Reeves plays.
is
Yeah.
Reeves playing? Yeah, I don't know.
I need predictions here, fellas. If we're making odds, Ryan Reeves versus Rempe on Saturday, what are we making the odds that they actually fight?
If they're both in the lineup, it's gonna happen.
It's pretty likely.
This is what the fans want to hear. What are we
Yeah.
going to get? I'd
That's
set it up
Saturday
like,
night. That's gonna be hockey night in Canada for the Leafs.
it's
So
perfect.
And Sir Elton John said it best: Saturday night's all right for fighting.
there you go.
I'm gonna say if I made odds, if Reeves is in the lineup, which I believe he's been playing the last few games, Rempe, I'm gonna say like minus 160-ish that they fight. If I was a betting man, I think that's
I
you know,
think that would be a really good one too. You probably give Revo the size, right? And then Rempe's got the reach
yeah. I
because
mean, he
he's
just got
6'7".
I actually think Rempe would tune him up if he's not too concussed from whatever's going to happen with him and
really.
Olivier the game before.
I can't lie and say that I wouldn't love seeing that, but
Oh yeah, well we'd love to see it, but Olivier tagged him pretty good.
I don't
I
know.
mean,
But he tuned up Delorier too, and the
yeah.
Olivier thing. I think it's his third fight in 5 games. You're probably a little fatigued. Like I don't know. Olivier also just came in there like ready. Like he
yeah,
just
I
I
don't
don't know.
it just
That was a brutal fight. Like
it baffles me how like Matt Martin is one thing. Nick Delorier is fucking terrifying.
yeah,
Like
he
that
is.
beard, that Flyers
I
uniform.
think
I
I
don't
think
know what it is. It's
I'm
just
pretty sure Delorier has the most fighting majors this season out of any player. I
Yeah.
think. Don't
yeah.
quote me on that, but I think.
Well, he's got a contestant now, or he's got competition now, but
Yeah.
it's just crazy. A 6'8", 2026 round pick has just given the New York Rangers, who are already the best team in the East, arguably, a jolt of like lightning in their lineup.
Oh, it's huge for playoffs too. Like
Yes.
think about that. Like knowing
Yeah.
you have that guy there now, that's a big freaking deal.
Yeah.
Also, he apparently he told reporters, "Oh, actually, I think I'm a little closer to like 6'8.5", if that matters."
Yeah, and then last thought before we move on, that game against the Devils, that Bastion hit where he got the
Oh my God.
game misconduct. What do you think?
It it was like I sent it to you guys on Instagram, and I think I said it was like watching someone get run over by a car just because of the size difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of those that's so hard for me to say if that's like a bad hit or not. It just, I mean, yeah, he needed to get tossed, like, but it really is kind of just the fucking size difference. Like,
It's also the fact that one player's crouched over and the other one's not.
right, like, yeah, that. But that being said, I mean, I guess you could make the argument that, or at least I would have thought NHL player safety would make the argument that Rempe is like in charge of deciding to not make that hit or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, whatever.
Yep. Yep. So anyways, we'll move on from that, but it's certainly been entertaining to see what Matt Rempe is doing. And I guarantee you, anyone listening to this, Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday night against the Leafs is going to be some must-watch material. So definitely set a reminder for that.
Imagine if they both make the starting lineup.
Yeah, that's one last thing I'll say. I'm pretty sure every fight for Rempe has been in his first shift of the game.
Yeah.
Matt Martin, Delorier, and Olivia, I'm pretty sure that was his first shift of
I
every
mean,
game.
credit to these guys that are challenging him. They're doing what we talked about, a little while ago. They're just saying, let's get this over with. Let's do this now, and then we'll play the hockey game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. Don't quote me, but from the research I did prior to this, I'm pretty sure it was the first shift of every game. But we're going to move on to our next discussion part of the episode. This is kind of a overall state of the union, playoff race, league standings. I don't know what you want to call this, but just we'll read some stats here and then we'll just talk about all the teams on the list. So here are some teams who have traditionally been good this season or expected to be good this season that have been struggling as of late. The Bruins, they've gone 8 straight games without a regulation win for the first time since 2010. I cannot believe that's a real stat, but it is. The Canucks, they're 1-4 in their last 5 games. The Devils, I know Mac will talk about this soon, but Frank the Tank is getting cuffed. Lindy Ruff feels no pressure. Everyone knows they need a goalie. They're 7 points out of the playoffs, and they really haven't had any good, consistent play. They dropped the game to the Caps. Kudos to you guys. I'm shocked you won that. And then they lose a crucial one to
Same,
Tampa.
to be honest, because normally it was a total flip of what the scoreline should be between the Caps and Devils.
And they lose that crucial game to Tampa where Kucherov just did what Kucherov does. So I know we'll definitely talk about them in a second. The Oilers, they've lost 3 in a row. They're 4-6 since the All-Star break when they went on that absolute 16-game heater. And they have the second worst penalty kill in the NHL since the All-Star break. And then lastly, Vegas, Eichel's still out, Stone's now out, and they've lost 4 of their last 6. So all these teams, maybe besides New Jersey, probably expected to be in contention for a Stanley Cup, right? And New Jersey before the season was one of the best preseason picks to win the cup. Give me your overall thoughts. Who's in real deep trouble?
Jersey. What did we love about Jersey last year? They were never out of hockey games. Jersey can't close hockey games this year. You nailed it with, that game against Tampa where Kucherov just beats them down the stretch. This team cannot close hockey games. A huge part of it, like we've talked about, is keeping the puck out of their own net. They are not what they were last year. It's a relatively like same core, but for whatever reason, they are just a different hockey team right now.
Yeah, and I hate to be the guy on the podcast that like I feel like every time I say like a team is shitty, I complain that they don't have a good goalie. But this one's really bad because it's not just that they don't have a good goalie, it's that nobody, no matter who they put in net, can stop the puck, and it's causing the whole team to suck even worse. And like you can see it out there. Like last game, they had Akira Schmid in the net, and he just like I forget which goal it was. I think it was to make it a 2-goal game in the third. So they're in that game down by 1, and then all of a sudden they give up another with like 10 minutes left. Now it's a 2-goal game again. And he just looks like he's not even fucking trying. Like he just
So out of position.
so out of position. And then like pretty much zero attempt to get back in position. Just really lazy, like, shit, I missed this one. And like you see that as a player, and you are just like, man, fuck this. Like if he's not trying, I'm not trying. Like it just disheartening, and you can see it throughout the whole lineup. I really think the Devils are fucked. I don't think they have a snowball's chance in hell of making the playoffs. It's over for them.
And when you say players are going like, oh my God, like it's just destroying the confidence in that locker room.
Yep.
And not just with the defensemen with playing out from the back, it's the forwards too. With anytime they turn a puck over, they're going, oh my God.
Yeah.
And
now you got fans chanting, fire Lindy. You're talking about firing a coach, and there's like 20 games left. No, you're not making the playoffs.
It's also not the coach's fault in any way, shape, or form, but
right, but he may have also lost the room too. That could be a separate thing. It's just like
I think it's a personnel thing, like you said. I think it's a goaltending thing. I think them in Detroit right now have to be at the forefront for whatever goaltenders are on the market.
But I don't even know if it's worth it. Like for the Devils,
it might not be.
I seriously think if you're the Devils, you cut your losses at this point, and maybe sell some guys that are worth selling. And you're not rebuilding; you're already done with your rebuild. But move some pieces that people want and get something for them. Because I seriously think you're joking yourself if you're trading for a goalie and trying to make the playoffs. You need so much help from other teams too. I just don't think it's happening.
Do you move Tyler Toffoli? Can you move Tyler Toffoli?
Yeah, maybe. How much is left on his deal? Anybody know? You.
I do not have that number in front of me.
There's a couple guys like that though that are like either 1 or 2 or 3 year rentals that you at least take calls on, I think.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but what I actually think they will do, I'm not so sure they're going to sell. I mean, it's so weird. The Devils are so weird. And if you're listening to this and saying you guys are fucking crazy, you're probably right, because last week we all said the Devils are going to go on a run. We feel like they're going to get hot. It was fresh off the Stadium Series, and we're like, yo, the jerseys look sick. Nico Dahl's had 48 saves. Like, we think the Devils are going off, and they just haven't really done anything since that last week to prove to us that that's going to be the case.
I totally agree, Harry. I just looked up Toffoli's deal. He's in the final year of a 4-year contract with an AAV of $4.25 million. So
that's really interesting.
I would definitely move him if I were them. I don't think they will, but
you haul moving yourself out of here, dude.
Yep.
I don't think they're going to do it. Should they? Maybe. I also think, I don't know if Hughes is totally, and I mean Jack Hughes, that is. I don't know if he's totally healthy right now. I know he came back from injury. He seems like he's been struggling. Dougie Hamilton's still out with injuries, so it's tough in Jersey right now. They definitely need a goalie, though. They have to, if they're going to make a push for the playoffs. I can't imagine a world they don't go for a goalie.
I feel so bad for Dougie Hamilton, and I know we've ripped on this guy in the past, but like, I don't get it. Why do teams still sign this guy?
It's good when he's healthy.
I don't know, dude.
Yeah, you've never been a big Dougie guy. I know that.
No.
Ever since we started the pod, you've kind of been a Dougie hater.
Yeah, I've also heard that the Devils are like front runners for getting Saros. Now that was like a week ago, so I don't know if that's still the deal. But man, you would have to give up so much for that, and then if you still don't make the playoffs, you know how stupid you look.
Yeah. And they have so many good pieces on that team that like you've got to be careful about what you get rid of now. Yeah. Like obviously you've got Heischer, Bratt, I mean Mercer. They got rid of Sharangovich. They sent him to Calgary, but I mean up and down the lineup, they do have some studs in there.
Timo has struggled hard, and I know that's been tough for them, tough for him too.
And I feel like it was great last year. And this is just the Devils in a nutshell. Like when he came over, he struggled at first and then had an impact, and now it's just nowhere near close to what he was last year.
Yeah, he found his way a little bit last year in the playoffs, and then he got his bell wrong. Remember that?
Yep.
Was that Trouba?
Yeah, it just creamed him.
Destroyed him. But yeah, it's been a rough year for him. I'm shocked if Lindy Ruff is coaching after this year, to be honest. If they don't turn it around.
He'll be gone. I really think he'll be gone. Whether that's his fault or not, I don't see him coming back.
It won't be his fault, but he'll be the first domino to fall.
Worth noting, New Jersey has the ninth hardest schedule remaining based on win percentage of teams on their schedule. They have to play, let's see here. They play the Maple Leafs 3 times before the end of the year. So that's probably going to be their hardest opponent that they have to play multiple times before the end of the year. Any other teams on the list that I read off you're really concerned about or not particularly?
I don't think so. They're all high enough in the standings. They're not going to fall out of the playoffs. I think the team out of what it's Vegas, Oilers, Canucks, and Bruins. You could argue the Oilers are probably the closest out of those teams to not being in a playoff spot. But even still, I don't think any of those teams really have to worry. They'll turn it around. They'll figure it out. I do. The Oilers thing is really interesting to me though, because
Yes.
all season long it was like, yeah, they need a goalie. Yeah, they need a goalie. Now what do you do? Because
Yeah.
Skinner kind of has retaken the reins of like starting goalie here. So do you shoot his confidence and go and get some new guy and hope he works out? Or do you just ride it and hope that he doesn't shit the bed like he definitely can?
I think you got to ride it. I mean, I think bringing in someone new would almost like torpedo that locker room,
Yeah.
just basically telling everyone that you can be replaced.
Yeah.
And I think you just got to stick with what you got, ride the hot hand, right?
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
There's only so many goalies on the market, and
True.
with that comes a big price tag. I don't really know if the Oilers are going to be willing to do that, especially since Skinner has come alive since the coaching change and definitely during that win streak. So
Yeah,
they'll
that's fair.
they'll probably ride it. They'll probably end up riding it. And I have a funny feeling we're going to have the same conversation that we've had every year come April. And it's going to be
Yeah,
the
me too.
it's going to be game 3 in the first round. It's going to be a 1-1 series.
And all of a
Whoever
sudden they're turning to Calvin Pickard
yeah,
because, you
yeah,
know,
or whatever the fuck. Like
yep.
it's crazy. It's so stupid. But
Yeah.
anyways, we're gonna move on to some teams who have been playing pretty well as of late. Maybe some that you wouldn't think would be. The main one being the Ottawa Senators. They've won 7 of their last 10. They've taken down Vegas, Dallas, Toronto, Detroit, and Tampa all in that span. And I think it's worth noting they also took what I would say is the best team in the NHL, the Florida Panthers, to overtime, albeit they lost. The Wild, winners in 7 of their last 10, 7-2-1 in their last 10. They beat the Canucks in that 10-7 shootout. And then they also have beaten the Oilers and Vegas in that span. The Leafs, they've won 7 in a row. They won every game with Morgan Riley out for suspension. Calgary, they've actually won 7 of their last 10, and Huberdeau's actually come alive. So look out for Calgary. It's an interesting situation there because obviously you're hearing the Noah Hannafin and Markstrom rumors hourly at this point. So who knows what they'll end up doing. And the LA Kings, they've won 7 of their last 10 games after going on that brutal, brutal stretch earlier this year. Out of these teams, like what I don't even know how to phrase this. Like, what do you do? What do you think of this? I don't know how to ask the question actually.
I think Calgary and Mini are really interesting when you look at that second wild card spot in the West. Right now, you've got the Panthers there with 59 games played and 66 points, which puts them 2 points behind the Kings in the top wild card spot. And then below them, you've got the Blues, the Wild, and the Flames. And I think any of those teams could get that second wild card spot. I think the first one is the Kings are getting that or better. I don't anticipate them following or like falling much below that. But yeah, I would say basically the Preds, the Blues, the Wild, and the Flames are in the mix for that final spot. I don't think the Kraken have a chance in hell at making the postseason at this point.
So out of those 4 teams that you listed, the Predators, the Blues, the Wild, and the Flames, maybe you said it and I wasn't listening, but who do you have making that last spot?
It's tough because I kind of want all of those teams except for Nashville to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think playoffs in St. Louis is electric. Playoffs in Mini, of course, it's the state of hockey here in the States. That's a huge deal for us. That's electric. And then I've always had a soft spot for the Flames. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mac, what do you think?
It's tough. I mean, it's going to be really fun to see how that shakes out. I think that out of those kind of bubble teams, who deserves to make it the most, I mean, I kind of want to say like St. Louis, just because I feel like they've really battled all year, or maybe Nashville too.
Is it
Um,
bad that the answer is not Calgary? Like, just
yeah,
not
well,
the
yeah,
Flames?
no, definitely. But even like Minnesota, I've got issues with that because
Yeah.
they should have been a completely fine hockey team, and they just were so bad for so long this year. And the fact that like they still might sneak in just feels a little wrong to me because they just have not had a good season. Um, but
And
yeah,
they're
I
kind
mean,
of like up there in trade deadline talks. Like people are picking them apart left and right.
right, right. Yeah, I don't know. I think I definitely agree with what you said about the Kraken. I think they're toast. And the Kings, I mean, they have a game in hand for some of those teams we just talked about. Some of them they have 2 games in hand. So I don't think they really have to worry either. And actually they have the same amount of points as the Oilers now too. So they could even jump into that third
That's
spot in the division.
crazy.
Yep.
Crazy that's the case. I look at Calgary, Mini, St. Louis, and Nashville. In terms of who I would want, I'd probably want St. Louis or Mini. I think St. Louis would be a more fun team for me to watch just because I've always had a soft spot for the Blues. I really like Jordan Kyrou. Bob Tom's having a career year. They had the coach firing this season, so they've been through some stuff. But you want to talk about fun, and I can't believe I'm saying this because Minnesota is always a very boring team. But that new top line that they've put together of Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek, and Boldy, man, they are fun. They're fun to watch.
Boldy woke up. I mean, that
Yeah,
guy was having the sophomore slump of all sophomore slumps this year, and he woke the fuck up.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm gonna say I want the Wild in that second wild card spot. It also doesn't give us 10:30 games. Sorry, Calgary, but I hate that shit. And I can actually watch. They're hot right now, and I trust Bill Guerin to do something. I really, he's going to be the GM of Team USA for the Olympics. I think he's going to do something here for the Wild to get them that final push in.
I think it would be sick if the Flames made it just because then there's the potential of Battle of Alberta in the postseason.
Oh man.
But, let's be real. I don't think the Flames would stand a chance in hell
It,
against
it's not so
against the
much the
Oilers in the playoffs. That would just be a, day and night, probably 4 or 5 game series right there.
yeah, not much of a battle, more like the whipping of Alberta, where the
Yeah.
Oilers just destroy them.
There you
But
go.
yeah, so I don't know. I think the Wild can take that. And I hope they do. They're fun right now. The other teams I listed, I want to talk about the Senators. This is a weird, very weird hockey team. I can't believe we're talking about this, but don't look now. The Ottawa Senators, they've got some games in hand. They've got 5 games in hand on the Lightning.
Dude, aren't they like 15 points out of the playoffs?
They are, but they've got
Then why are
five
we even
games.
talking about this,
They're
bro?
high. I don't
They're
know. I'm
not
just kidding.
making it.
No, they're not making the playoffs. But it is weird. Like, why? Why now? Why would you want to ruin your draft
Yeah, I
position?
mean,
Right.
Why are they coming alive? Are they increasing trade value of some of their players? Like, what are we doing here?
I think every team that's at like the bottom of the barrel has to look at themselves in the mirror and go, okay, we're not making the playoffs, and I'm not letting the Blackhawks get Celebrini and Bedard
yeah,
in back-to-back years.
yep,
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because the fucking Senators, they're kind of hot. I think they're playing the Caps right now as we're recording this, right? What's
yep.
the score?
2-2.
2-2
Ooh,
after the
yeah.
Caps were up 2-0, and then that lead erased in about 5
It's
seconds.
great. It's fine. I love it. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Can't explain why Ottawa's doing well, but anyways, that kind of wraps up the discussion portion of the episode. We're not going to chat Leafs. We all know what we're going to say about that. It's probably the same thing we'd say about the Oilers. So there you go. That's the wrap on the discussion portion. We are now going to move.
Real quick on the Leafs. So I know we talked about, I know Morgan Riley's suspended right now for blasting Randy
He's
Gregg in
back.
the face, and everything. Did you guys see what happened in I think it was women's college hockey game?
Gophers, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, the Minnesota Gophers. I think it was Abby Roque, I want to say, took like the Ridley
Yeah.
Gregg clapper at the empty net. And yeah, some
Yeah.
people are saying she should be suspended for doing that. I'm like, I love this. This is awesome.
Well, also some people are like, see, it can happen in a game and nothing, and you don't have to cross check someone in the face. Like, seriously, seriously. You're
Also,
gonna be the guy to comment
the
there.
ref
also
got
the
there
ref
first.
got there like immediately, like nothing could even happen. So
Yeah, but they're not gonna throw down like the NA.
And,
Like,
no, something was gonna happen, but the ref
you
got there
think?
first. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, the player did try and like come right after,
Yeah.
but the ref got there.
Hmm. Somehow that doesn't seem to stop the NHL guys, but I digress.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on to the gambling portion of the episode. Then we'll do trivia and get you all out of here. Before we do the gambling segment, a reminder: these stats and all the stats that we're posting on social media are brought to you by Prop Tracker. Prop Tracker is your home for player prop research and finding outlier bets for NHL, NBA, NFL, and more. Once you find a bet you like, start tracking it to get notified on its progress, like shots, rebounds, or receptions. Go to proptrackerapp.com/emptybetters to try a free month of our Android or iOS app. proptrackerapp.com/emptybetters. They also are doing golf now, if you're into that. And I believe they are adding a feature to store the live prop updates on your home screen. So you don't have to constantly be checking the app for it. You can be as degenerate as you want, put your do not disturb on, and still see all your updates. So that's always good. Alrighty, real quick. Dallas Stars, they are home for a couple games here this week, one of which is as we're recording this against the New York Islanders. A reminder to you that the Dallas Stars over 6.5 has hit in 22 of 28 home games this season. The total for the game against the Islanders today was set at 6. I ended up taking that. We tweeted out some stats from the EB account. Be sure you're following us. So definitely be on the lookout for Dallas at home and the over. Here's a really interesting stat, and if you're a crazy person who likes to bet first goal of the game, then more power to you. This season, the New Jersey Devils have surrendered the game's first goal 42 times through 58 games. 72.4% of their games, their opponent scores first. So if you want to be betting some first goal props, I would suggest going against the Devils. And then just two player props to wrap this segment out. Two guys who you maybe wouldn't be picking a lot on a nightly basis, but that maybe you should keep an eye on. Thomas Novak of the Nashville Predators. He's got points in 9 of his last 10, currently riding a 4-game streak, 10 points in his last 10 games. That value is always around even money, so that's a great bang for your buck. You can take that straight up without a parlay. And then Jared McCann, man, this guy's been on fire lately for the Kraken, even though they've been kind of struggling a little bit. Goals in 5 of his last 10, assists in 6 of his last 10, and points in 9 of his last 10. Tonight they're taking on the Bruins at home. He was minus 130 to get a point and plus 230 to score. So keep in mind that's probably a range of value that you can get for him on a nightly basis. So keep an eye out for him.
Dude, Tommy Novak's a stud. Great fantasy pickup too. Like if you are just like, hey, like it's Friday, I need like a depth scoring forward to just grab me like a 1.3 points. Tommy Novak.
For sure. For sure. All right, we're gonna move on to trivia, and then we're gonna get out of here. Mac, I think you have a word from our buddies at Elwood's.
Sure do. Yeah, extra special shout out to them for a good time over the weekend. That was a lot of fun. But just as always, a reminder to support your local dive bar and have a beer at Elwood's Liquor and Tap, home of the Pizza Luge, which we witnessed in person this weekend, which was awesome. Located in the heart of downtown Milwaukee on Water Street, the 70s inspired bar has a little something for everybody, from daily happy hour, rotating taps, free birthday perks, and a 4-season patio. A good time is always around the corner with the full NHL package, TV screens inside and out. Hockey fans can watch any game, anytime. We will see you down at Elwood's. All right, I got a cool one. I think this will be challenging enough, but as always, if it's not, I got a backup. So here we go. Which goalie became the first Ottawa Senators goalie to have a 25-win season on this day, February 26th, in 2001?
Ooh,
First Senators goalie to win 25 games in the season. And I told you the year too.
2001. I will get the first guess out of the way. Let's go Patrick Lalime.
Damn it, that's it.
Bang.
Marvin Martian, baby.
Yeah. All right. I'll go with the backup. This is a good one, too. Another goalie question. So, which goalie became the fourth European born goaltender to win 200 NHL games on this day, February 26th, in 2004, when his team beat the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Who is Nikolai Hobibulin?
Fuck. All right. I give up.
Damn.
You guys
We
are
are
good this week.
Game,
cooking.
set, match.
Damn.
How'd you know that one, Nick?
It's my boy, the Bullen Wall. Come on.
Yeah, I love Hobby.
Is it?
All right, quick. I got one for you guys. 12 years ago today, this happened in sports, pro sports, and a unique sport, not like one of the core four American ones, something that's a little bit different. You know, you or I maybe would not call this a pro sport, but it is. Uh, Someone who has the same name as a former guest had a very iconic moment that's gotten viral, you know, for a variety of things. Does anyone have an idea what this is?
I know exactly what it is.
Just letting Mac rip it.
Pete Weber.
Yep.
Right? The bowling icon. I forget what it was that he did. Just won some championship or something
like the US
that.
Open or something for bowling.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So I saw a clip of that today. That's the reason I know it. But I actually got to thinking the same thing because I was looking at it and it jogged my memory of when we had Predators legend Pete Weber on. And we joked with him about that because I think one of the first things he said at the beginning of the interview was like, yeah, most people always ask. And I have to say, not the bowler or whatever.
Who do you think you are? I am.
Right.
Like,
yep, exactly. Yeah.
So
funny stuff.
Wow, 3 for 3 on trivia. Maybe the first time ever.
Good job, boys. Probably the quickest we've gotten that done, too.
Yeah, we're buzzing.
Also, this Caps game is cracked. I just want to say we were up 2-0, then it was 2-2. Now we're up 4-2. It's still the first period. So
never a doubt. Never a doubt. Not even for a minute.
The over hit what in the first period? That's crazy. Real quick before we head out of here, just want to give some thoughts and prayers over here to Mr. Kenneth Mitchell. For those of you who don't know who he actually was the actor who played Ralph Cox in Miracle. He passed away Saturday at the age of 49 after a 5-year battle with ALS. One of the most iconic, some of the most iconic lines in hockey cinema history. So we obviously want to send our thoughts and prayers to him and his family.
Still the hardest scene to watch in that movie is him getting cut.
Yep, I agree. The comments are I'm scrolling on the comments now. It's just all of it is like, this guy made my childhood. I quote his movies quotes all the time, and it's just sad to see, especially after hearing he had that battle. So
for sure, my favorite line of his in that whole movie was when Herb is making them do the like, get to know you, where are you from thing. He's like, I'm Ralph Cox and I'm from wherever's not going to get me hit in the face. Like,
I love that.
So funny.
Great. It's great.
Yeah,
great.
I mean, he's timeless. It's cool that he'll at least live on through all those movies and quotes. I mean, I feel like it's safe to say hockey players for many decades to come will be watching Miracle. So, pretty cool.
For sure. Well, if you guys don't have anything else, we are going to get everybody out of here. Any final thoughts, fellas? All righty. Well, we appreciate the love and support as always. Thank you for listening. And without further ado,
class dismissed.